All right. Hey, everyone. This is Diamond Rivera of the Live Discussions with Diamond podcast, all the way from New York City. And tonight, people, we have a really, really special guest coming to the platform. But before we get started, I want to let you know that this interview tonight is available on Facebook, also available on YouTube as well. For the future, all of our interviews will be available on bachataradio.com, where you can listen to all of our interviews in high quality, as well through Bachata Radio and live discussions with Diamond Podcast. Of course, are teaming together to make sure that our new merchandise coming out, we will have available as well. 10% of all of our proceeds will be going to the Wounded Warriors Project. For more information, I will definitely have it in a later post. But tonight, people, here in New York City, we have a really special guest, like I said earlier, a person that for me has meant so much to me in my growth as a filmmaker, as well as my growth as a dancer, specifically bachata. And from New York City, everyone here, everybody knows him. He has thrown some of the most amazing bachata events known to man, woman, whomever. I mean, this man here has created so many amazing dancers from his previous company. He has created some of the most amazing events in New York and New Jersey and abroad. And here today, people, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. Mikey G.
And then you cue the noise.
Yes, cue the noise.
Yo, I
I
like that
see.
intro. I like that intro. Made me feel like a wrestler coming down, like,
Come on,
you
man. I
know,
mean, we got to have that wrestling theme.
for real. So I need some theme music like dun, dun, dun,
Oh
dun,
man.
whatever.
I mean, I love it. I'm trying to be like Jerry Lawler in a sense, maybe. Man,
Got it, man.
yeah, man. But Mikey, man, thank you so much. I think for me, it's really been a well anticipated talk that I wanted to have for so long. You really being so influential and contributing to the New York dance scene for so many years. I mean, from the events you put on, from just the kind of educating a lot of our dancers, creating honestly one of the most influential companies you've had previously that was called Pura Vida Dance Company that has really breeded a lot of amazing dancers. Your style, your genuineness, your hospitality, just everything really about you, your modesty. For me, it definitely inspired me as well. And I'm glad that tonight we can have this discussion.
Yeah, I know we've been trying to do this for a while.
Yeah,
Just haven't been able to match our schedules, but
yeah,
yeah, happy to finally be here and thanks for hosting me, man.
absolutely. I mean, and I'm loving here the Latino heat, Mr. Eddie Guerrero, the
Yes.
late Eddie Guerrero, matching with the New York fitter right there. I'm loving it. And as well, I think too, we have an opportunity just as well as we're talking, having people understand you a little bit more. Because sometimes many people just see you maybe at a congress, maybe at a festival, but not having that opportunity to really get to know Mikey, the person, a person that I feel I've gotten to know over the years. And as well, during our conversation tonight, we'll be having some live comments coming in. For example, all the way from the DC area, our boy, Mr. Emerson, DJ
You
Immersive
already
in the
know, man.
house.
Immersive. One of my favorite DJs there. Give it up, give it up. Um, yeah, my boy right there.
Abs- Absolutely, I mean, and honestly, I think tonight again we're gonna have an opportunity to get to understand Mikey not just as the dancer, not just as the promoter or organizer, but also as the person, because I know behind all of the hecticness, all of the finances, all of the events that just culminate and everything you've been able to put together over the years, I think people again will get an opportunity to understand really who you are and kind of things that you're interested in besides just dance, but also understand how those influences also came into dance and how things really worked with that. So, I mean, definitely tonight should be very, very interesting. And how I love starting with all of my guests is having them really going back, all the way back to the beginning of kind of how it all started. I wish I kind of had like that WWF, WWE just theme music hitting. We'll try to get some sound effects next time. But Mikey, I would love for you to kind of give us a glimpse of who really Mikey was before dance and how dance kind of entered into your life.
Absolutely, man. I mean, all right. So taking it way back, I want to say I started dancing while I was in college. I think at the time I was kind of going through like a breakup, right? And as I'm driving home one day, I see a dance studio opening up around me, and I'm like, yo, if only I knew how to dance, I could pick up girls like that, right? So I was like, let me go check it out. And I started with salsa classes, like everybody in New York City, right? And from there, they eventually opened up bachata classes. And at the moment, I was like, hey, this has got to be easy. Anybody can dance bachata. I gave it a shot, and I was like, whoa, this is totally different than from what I expected, and I loved it. And from then on, I shifted my attention from, I was still taking salsa, but then I started doing a lot more bachata, going to all the classes, going to the socials they had. And then what really I guess inspired having a group, having a team, was my sister's quinceañera was coming up. And a traditional Mexican quinceañera, they always have those dances, right? They have the dances. And so my father was like, yo, I'm gonna hire a choreographer to create a nice dance for her. It's my daughter's quinceañera, I want something nice. I'm like, yo, papa, I got it. We can do something good here.
Yeah.
So me and my sister were both going to the same studio, so we had a lot of the same friends, right? So we just ended up inviting some of our friends and putting together
Mm-hmm.
in our living room. And in a matter of a couple of weeks, we had something nice that I'll be honest, I am amazed to this day how good we were able to put that together. And it's
Yeah.
not just one dance; it's about 4 dances.
Oh, wow.
And one of those 4, because there's like the intro, the outro, the main like
Mm-hmm.
dance, but then there's like a surprise dance. And for that surprise dance, we did half salsa, half bachata. And so at the time, I had Steven and Rafael, two good friends of ours, um, put together the salsa part.
Yeah.
But it was my first taste of putting the bachata part and choreographing bachata together. So that was my first taste of it. And it probably wasn't the prettiest thing looking back at it now, but I was ecstatic. I loved it,
Yeah.
And so after spending most of the time together, putting this quinceañera together, most of our summer, once the quinceañera was over, we were all a little sad because it was like, well, what do we do now? Like we were used to just getting together and hanging out, dancing, and et cetera, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera. And now this is over. And that's when we found out that at the time, bachata was still overall in the dancing, kind of still growing, kind of new. It was new,
Yeah.
right? You would hardly see it at socials, much less congresses.
Yes.
However, for the very first time, the New York Salsa Congress was hosting a bachata room. What? A bachata room that was being hosted by Out in Touch. And now they were having a bachata team competition.
Yes, I remember
Right?
that.
So at the time, me and the friends that put together the quinceañera, we were like, well, we got nothing else to do. We just finished putting quinceañera dance together. Fuck it, let's do this. Let's enter it. And, whatever, it'll be something just for fun. Right? So for anybody that has performed and or choreographed, right, you go in knowing that, hey, something like this is going to take a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
I would say anywhere from easily at minimum 2 months, if not 3.
Mm-hmm.
The more, the better. We ended up putting something together in 6 weeks.
Wow.
And it was, again, in my living room, no mirrors, judgment from some of our closest friends. So it was very, very random. And then outside of that quinceañera, none of us had really mainly danced together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
We hardly had any choreography experience, or for that much, very little performance experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, we put it together in 6 weeks. We did put in a lot of time. And then I remember that spring break, I had gone to Costa Rica. Beautiful
Mm.
country. If you've never gone, definitely recommend it. Um, and so the word Pura Vida stuck out to me, like the meaning of it, the
Yeah.
meaning of just enjoying life and taking it for what it is, and just embracing things. Um, and so we went with the name Pura Vida, and then not that we had much time to really think of something, but we needed a name to enter the
Hmm.
competition, right? We had to be
Gotcha.
presented as something. So we put Pura Vida, bam, everybody on board, perfect. On the day of the competition, we go, and I'm there thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting. We're probably going to see other social dancers that we've seen at Pache, and they'll
Yeah.
probably be competing too, That'd be pretty cool. I was
Yeah.
already nervous as is. But when I saw who was competing, I was like, oh shit, I literally froze there, so at the time, again, Bachata was still on the rise, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that were doing, especially on a performance level, were a lot of trained dancers, a lot of trained salseros converting into bachateros, right?
Yes. Yes.
So we were competing against Art in Motion from Philly, who
Mm.
is headlined by Darlin Garcia,
Yep.
multiple world champ. I don't know if you remember Alfred Pena from Long
Yes.
Island,
Rhythmology.
Rhythmology.
Yep.
He was out there with his team. Um, there were a couple of other teams as well that I can't recall, but the main one that was also there, which we all very highly looked up to and still look up to, was Caribbean Soul.
Mm.
Right now, this is when Ismael and Alex was still there, and Edwin Ferrero was a featured member at the time. They had a squad. They had a
Oh
squad.
yeah.
So I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Hold up, we competing against them? Like this ain't even fair." But we did it because we wanted to challenge ourselves, and we were like, "Fuck it, whatever." Um, Now I don't know if you recall, I don't know if you those movies where like somebody walks into like an auditorium and everybody's completely quiet, silent,
Yeah.
right? So imagine that for a minute. And now imagine we're at the competition, we're at the Congress. The Bachata room is packed now because all the salsa performances are over, right? They
Mm.
purposely did that. They did the salsa performances first, bam. And now, while half the people are going upstairs to change, now they're going to have the bachata competition. So they're pushing everybody from the salsa room to the bachata room. So that bachata room is packed.
Mm.
And now they're announcing the competitors. Rhythmology comes up now. They're a local team, New York City. They bring their
Yeah.
squad. Everybody OD loud. Darling, Art in Motion,
Yeah. You already know.
people just know the name. You just cheer for them, Caribbean Soul, their neighbors, Jersey, everybody
Absolutely.
know them. Then they not Pura Vida, no.
Mm.
And no lie, I heard my sister scream very loud, and maybe like a couple of her friends,
Wow.
But other than that, it was dead silent, which made me even more nervous. I was like, oh wow, thanks. Um, but nonetheless, we ended up coming in second place, right behind
Wow.
Caribbean Soul, and it just after that, I guess a couple of the local New York City promoters saw that or got wind of it or heard about it, and they started inviting us to perform at local venues.
Hmm.
And at the time, again, for us, it was scheduled to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Um, but since we kept getting opportunities to perform, we were like, well, why not? Let's just ride this out as long as we can. Um, and that was the start of Pura Vida Dance Company.
Wow. And something you said earlier that really resonated with me was you said that you and Steven, I'm assuming you're talking about Coronel,
Yes,
that you guys were in the same school, and I believe that was Lorenz, correct?
absolutely. So at the time, I mean, that's how long I known Steven
Yeah.
Coronel, but he was not part of the team. He was still dancing for Lorenz.
Yes.
So he was now one of the first people that competed with me.
Hmm.
But he's been around for being
Man,
honest.
and the reason it hit me was because realizing, especially with New York City, I noticed people like you, people like Coronel, people like Will Nieves and others. Lorenz has really, people don't understand, Lorenz is one of the franchises in New York City that honestly has created many amazing dancers, but also has, I don't know how, just has some people that can create great businesses, has been able to then be influential, not just on the performing side, but been able to then create their own. Realizing, like you said, your sister and other people with Lorenz, you guys came together, decided that you wanted to create something. And like you said, I remember, I believe it was 2012. Am I
Yeah.
correct? 2012, because the funny thing was, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was at that Congress and I remember they talked about a bachata room, but I had came in after the competition. And I remember Island Touch was hosting it. And I also remember that we know the bachata rooms were small. They were given like a little sliver compared to the salsa rooms, but also, I think that was a moment because, like you said, you had people kind of getting pushed into this room. So it's kind of a new thing, seeing what's happening. But like you said, and I've talked about this a lot, people don't get it. A lot of your favorite dancers were bachata dancers, were salsa dancers. It just so happened to be that way. There weren't many people that I knew that were straight bachata. There were, but not compared to people like yourself, um, people like Ishmael, and many others that have danced before. It just so happened that transition kind of flowed smoothly. And for you guys to come in second with all of that other talent around, I think that showed. I mean, of course, as we know in New York, you're not always going to get the reception you perceive. We know how it is in New York. You go to certain shows and people are literally just hands like this, waiting for you to fuck up and mess up. So, it's that kind of harsh reality. But realizing, like you said, that kind of started the creation of Pura Vida, of you guys coming together for a specific focus and seeing the end result of people actually judges judging you and actually putting you right behind Caribbean Soul, who again who again is a professional team that has traveled the world. So seeing that you guys had came in second, and that kind of giving you kind of that light, that green light to, okay, maybe this is something here. For my question to you is, of course, you're seeing now in 2012, after this competition, where did you think bachata, the reception to bachata was during that time?
What do you mean in terms of?
Like in terms of, because we understand the salsa scene in New York City was like booming, everything, salsa socials everywhere. And my question really is that, hey, when bachata started kind of infiltrating and slowly creeping, did you feel like the reception was like instant, or it kind of took time for it to kind of gain attraction?
It kind of took time,
Hmm.
and more so because like as a whole, like even as a dancer, you tend to stick to what you know first, right?
Hmm.
You tend to stick to what you know until you start seeing that other people are enjoying it. You start seeing the beauty in it, right? I would I would compare it to right now where what Zouk is to New York, right? The Zouk scene is growing, but
Yes.
it's still not as big as what the bachata scene is,
Yes.
right? But it's growing, and a lot of people who are embracing Zouk now or looking into it, they like what they see, they want to learn it.
Hmm.
And I think back then that's the route that bachata was taking. It still took some time, but when they started seeing other people, and especially in that case, like Caribbean Soul, who was known
Yeah.
as a salsa dance company. Now, when you
Hmm.
start seeing them do bachata, but do it in a way that like catches your attention, is like, wow, I like that. I
Hmm.
felt like that was a proper step to have other salseros look at it and be like, oh, well, I want to give that a shot too. You know, um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it took time, but I think that right now, and even now, like obviously,
Mhm.
salsa still dominates New York City, but
Yeah.
the New York bachata scene has definitely gone a long route.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I definitely agree. I've seen the transition. I think, in my honest opinion, being a salsero since like the '90s, and literally after 2010, 2011, 2012 hits, and in New York, you have Island Touch coming in. Also, they were doing New York Touch, and then slowly you started seeing, like you said, Lorenzo's doing bachata classes, and now people are starting to get that attention. Like, okay, there's bachata here, there's bachata there, and then so after this competition, you then kind of get that inkling of, hey, maybe we should start doing this more. Did you feel kind of like the atmosphere was different between the bachata scene and the salsa scene? For me, I think it was almost close to night and day. I think just the bachata scene I feel was a lot more, and how should I say it? Just like youthful in a sense. It's weird to say. I mean, because in salsa we have people who are young dancers, but I just felt like
Right.
the bachata scene was just more invigorating. It was something new. People were interested in it. It didn't have like a big, huge, long standing like the salsa scene. So did you kind of notice like, all right, now they're starting to have little socials here and there when beginnings of it?
Yes, of course. I mean, I feel like in the beginning, definitely the bachata scene was tighter, and that's
Hmm.
because there were a limited amount of events. Outside of, you had Sunday Las Chicas Locas and Friday Nights Cache. Those were the two main events. Like, yeah, you would go to some salsa socials that would play maybe three, four bachatas the whole night.
Yeah.
But other than that, you had very limited bachata only socials. So a lot of the people that you saw going to these events, you would see repeatedly, and hence created a tighter group, right?
Hmm.
Um, on our end as well, it's where when when we started performing more, again, we were performing at the same
Yeah.
venues. We had limited amount of venues. Um, but then eventually, we started on my end, we started teaching and
Hmm.
growing more, but it was more due to opportunities. So it's not like on my end I wanted to teach at the time. Like, to
Yeah.
be honest, that was the furthest thing I was ever looking for. I still consider myself very introverted, very quiet, shy
Hmm.
type. But we did it because of opportunity, where an opportunity presented themselves, where they were like, "Hey, we opened up a new studio." At the time, a Rollo Dance Company, which no longer exists. But the homeboy comes up to me and says, "Hey, I opened up a new dance studio. I've seen you guys perform. I want you guys to teach at my dance studio.
Hmm.
However, I'm a new dance studio. I can't afford to pay you guys. In exchange, I'll give you free studio space." Now, any dancer that lives in New York City, y'all know that the New York City prices for dance
Oh yeah.
studio quickly rack up. Quickly. So I was like, hold up, you're telling me I'll teach in your studio a couple of classes a week in exchange for unlimited studio time? He's like, yep. Whenever the studio is free, it's yours. Done. I took it. You know, we were milking that dance studio, believe that. But I also felt very unprepared teaching. So I remember at the time, like I would bring in other instructors and be like, hey, like, help me, judge me.
Yeah.
Like, take you know take my class, tell me what you think. And at the time, I was also attending other classes, so
Hmm.
going out, learning, trying to pick the brains from different instructors, trying to see not just what they taught in terms of material, but how they went about it, and keeping the class engaged, keeping the class fun, not just
Hmm.
all material, material, material.
Absolutely, absolutely. And sorry to even cut you off, but we have a comment here from our boy, Mr. Coronel. It doesn't show his name for some reason, but he says very few bachata teams existed back then. Pura Vida stood out because Mikey helped form the New York City bachata scene grow with performance teams and socials. Hashtag Latino Heat. Absolutely, absolutely, and as well, he says, I would say half the popular bachata socials were hosted by, or at least had Mikey involved in some form. I mean, shameless plug, and in my opinion, I'm gonna say absolutely correct because me then kind of coming into the bachata scene, seeing these socials, noticing, I think that's what kind of separated you from many of the rest because, like you said, you had Las Chicas Locas. You've had it was the what was the other social that you had said besides?
Just caché on
Yeah,
Fridays.
Cache and Las Chicas Locas because they had Bachata Me Mama with Edwin.
Mhm.
And realizing when Bachata social started coming around, I noticed as well Pura Vida over time then started to have socials. But then I loved was that you were collaborating then with up and coming companies that were coming instead of just solely doing it yourself and not worrying. Because I think that was a big transition. Because in New York, we noticed, like you said, just in terms of dance space alone, we have so many studios that are so pricey, but so many companies that just kind of take it, and it's hard to really kind of settle yourself in. So even when having events, when bachata started becoming known, really bachata dancing, I noticed, you had two socials, but then now things started to grow. But you being really focused on working with other people, having your name still being put out there, but helping those people have great events, I think that really separated you from many because, we realize, especially in this industry, it's a cutthroat industry. But seeing your approach to it, I think was definitely refreshing for sure.
No, absolutely, and I feel like just like anything, the more you're into something,
Yeah.
in this case, the bachata scene, you go through phases, you
Mhm.
experience a lot of things, a lot of ups and downs, and then you realize, okay, well, what's your priority? What's your goal, your end goal,
Mhm.
right? And for me, what really kicked off the wanting to host events, right? It's where again we were still up and coming as a performance team. I had very little experience.
Mhm.
I still do in the grand scheme of things, right? But I remember reaching out to a I remember reaching out to a promoter whose name I won't name, and I was like, "Hey, I want to perform at your event." And they told me something along the lines of like, "Hey, we're not doing bachata performances right now." I was like, "All
Mm,
right." I'm like, "You know what? Tell me you don't like my shit. Tell me I'm not
mhm,
ready. Tell me not now. But don't bullshit me and tell me you're not taking bachata performances right now."
mhm,
I was like, "All right, that's fine. You know what? I want to host an event so that way, whenever I want to perform, nobody can tell me no. It's my event."
mm.
And that's what fueled me, and that's what started, one PV social, and I did it with, again, Steven was one of my first DJs there. Aria was one of our first DJs. We did it very internally, where we, a lot of
Yes.
what we of our support, a lot of our manpower came from having a strong team and using our resources internally, and then we asked at the time we had a lot of friends who we asked, hey, let's throw in a couple of performances, so started having performances, and then one year I remember as a team we wanted to go somewhere. I don't remember which
Mhm.
campus, right? But again, a lot of the members that I had were mainly high school students who, funds weren't as there,
Yeah.
right? Like, all right, let's try to find a way to fundraise this. Our anniversary is coming up. Let's make a big social, right?
Mm.
So that's when I started really reaching out to teams. I was like, all right, let me invite Caribbean Soul because they beat us our first time. So you know what? I want to invite Darling too because Homeboy's good.
Yep.
And then we had back when Fausto and Farrah was still dancing together as
Yeah.
a team. Bam, we had everybody. And at first I just wanted to have, hey, you know what? Let's have maybe a good amount of performances, 8 performances. We ended up having almost 20
Oh my God.
performances,
You had a
and this
Congress.
was yeah, and this was at the time where this whole concept nobody else was doing it.
Mm.
and we didn't intend to make it that big. We just wanted to have a fundraiser for us, and then yeah, we did have a couple of new routines ready to go, but we weren't prepared for the amount of reception it had. Like it got
Yeah.
so big that we decided to not call it the Pura Vida anniversary, and we renamed it the Bachata Bash
Mm,
because we
that
just
was
had so many bachata performances, so many, and it was a bachata strong event. We called it, all right, this is bigger than us. This is a big move for bachata. Let's call it the Bachata Bash. And for my wrestling fans out there,
yeah.
that name comes from the Great American Bash,
Okay.
which is a wrestling pay per view. So kind of took that idea. I'm a big wrestling fan, shifted it over and made it the Bachata Bash. Um, and yeah, that was the start of really going strong with events. Again, the reception
Mhm.
we had. This was the first time we had a social of 400 plus people.
And like I guess people don't understand too, like you said, having the bachata bash of kind of that understanding. If I reword this, the meaning is going to mean so much more because, like you said, Pura Vida was having like its first anniversary, and it was still an up and coming team, and realizing you're having a fundraiser, but it's also incorporating over 20 or close to 20 artists itself. It really is a bash. And like you said, your influence with wrestling, and we've talked as well how I'm a fan of wrestling, but I would say you, Coronel, and Dennis of Delomio Media are some of the biggest wrestling fans I have ever met in my life.
This is something around it, a
I,
little.
I would say, what I loved is that you took the influence from wrestling and you did incorporate it within your company, and it wasn't for me a gimmick. It felt genuine. It felt, you took bits and pieces, like you said, the Great American Bash, creating the Bachata Bash. Many people wouldn't have known that unless you were putting wrestling figures and making it look so super commercial. So I'm loving that influence. And also WWE, there is no copyright infringement intended. Trust me here. Um, and I love that. And especially here, we got a comment. His first comment, shout out to Victor Hernandez from PMX Entertainment with Spirits in Motion, giving you a shout out. But he
It's in
says something
motion.
here that's interesting. He says 20 is amazing compared to 60. Because we understand too, there's been events that we go to that you got 20, 30, 40, 50 shows. And don't get me wrong, I love it, but it can be draining.
No, and again, it was where, again, I was still new to the doing events thing.
Yeah.
We had only asked a set amount of performers that we wanted, that we invited. But once we
Mhm.
started promoting that, we literally had anybody who was in bachata at the time ask us to perform. And again, because I'm new, I wasn't gonna say no to anybody. I was like, "Yo, you want to perform? You're gonna perform for free? Come in." And that's actually for my bachateros out there or dancers, Reynard from Toronto, he randomly
Yes.
hit me up, and that's when I met him. I didn't know the guy, but he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be competing. I don't know where he's competing, or I don't remember the competition. But it's like, hey, I'm gonna be competing in a couple of weeks, and I
Mhm.
would love to perform at your event. Because they wanted the whole crowd ambiance, right?
Yes,
They're like,
absolutely.
they're like, hey, do you mind if I go perform? I'm like, sure, come through. All right. 2 days before the event, I check in with him. I'm like, hey, you still coming? This and that. He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm doing 3 shows. I'm like, what? Three shows. It's me with my partner. We're doing 2 shows, and then I'm bringing the team. I'm like, all right, you
All
know,
right.
I wouldn't say no. And so yeah, so it just happened to be that many shows, but we weren't expecting it. But I mean,
Mhm.
it turned out great. We divided it into two groups to kind of make it very very smooth. One thing I did pride myself in terms of holding socials was like I tried to have them very kind of straightforward, kind of like have my
Yeah,
team members all be on top of everything, and it ran very smoothly.
absolutely. It sees here that we have Allah saying, always a good time at Mikey's socials, as well as we got the amazing Kim here from Chisme, the Chisme podcast that she has. Big ups to her, saying definitely Delo Mio is a huge wrestling fan. And also, people like Kim with Chisme that Matters podcast, seeing what she's been doing, the work she's done with you guys is amazing. And,
Kim was one of our first members. Like we go way back, you know.
and that's also what separates you because what I love is that your relationships with your dancers, that's what means a lot because being in a dance school at one point, students are coming and going. So it's hard to
Absolutely.
keep that core. So I think too, you having people that you've known previously, like Coronel and others who have been a part of your company, and having new members coming in as well, and seeing what they've been able to produce. Big shouts out to Ariel, one of my favorite DJs. Period, coming from the New York area. Seeing the relationship you've had with him, then also with Coronel becoming a DJ soon after, just seeing, like you said, and it made sense that you used the same people that you knew incorporated in your event instead of too many outside sources. Because I think when you're just giving too many opportunities, sometimes that people you don't know, then like the vision can kind of just sway. So that's something I really appreciated for me, seeing how much you cared for the people that you brought on and put them in those positions. One thing I got to put out here in this comment, Luigi says, and it deals with wrestling. And I kind of agree, but I think you're a lot better as a person. As Mikey says, Mikey G is the Vince McMahon of New York City. I
Definitely
understand, but
not.
we're not going to go there because Vince, he's definitely suspect.
I'm more of a Triple H guy, you know.
Okay, all right. I'm more of a Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know Bret Hart, maybe. But that's me. But of course, Allah giving some love to Kim here. A person also I want to give this shout out to is Mike Movimiento Garcia, saying
Ooh.
yes, Mikey was very welcoming when I performed for him. I was not in the bachata world yet he had myself and Megan, and we had a blast. And that was something too, because you having a bachata social now a place that many new dancers felt comfortable going to, including myself, you were able to incorporate not just bachata dancers, you invited the salsa dancers. And I think that's what also what separated you, because I think you understood through unity and collaboration, it's only going to get bigger because the word of mouth is, hey, if you don't want to go to a salsa social, you can go to a bachata social. But also, you played salsa there too at points. So I think that right there kind of gave you more backing because people, hey, they want to go something they feel comfortable at. And we've been to so many salsa socials. So I think bachata was different. So now, through the years, you've been able to create really amazing routines, even with people with Raven, Steph, Jennifer, just the list goes on of people that you've been able to have within the company. When did you realize, hey, you're in New York now? You started to actually start traveling to other cities and other congresses and other festivals. What were those experiences like for you from just being in the New York scene and then kind of getting a glimpse of the other scenes?
It was, it was, and it still is a great refresher, a great reminder that, again, the dance scene is bigger than just New York scene, than just the New York scene, right?
Yes.
And I think that sometimes as a promoter, you can forget that. As a dancer, you can forget that, you know.
Mhm.
And for me, it was a great bonding experience with my team members, and I feel like that's one of the reasons that a lot of a lot of the people that I had on my team stuck with me for so long, or we've been on the team for a while, was because we created strong friendships, and these congresses allowed for that, to create these strong friendships. You mentioned Kim and Ariel, two people that again I know forever, and even though we no longer have the team and we're not dancing together, I still, I still keep in touch with them. I still hold them to like a high regard as friends and have nothing but love for them. Um, and in terms of like, yes, bringing teams in to perform, right? Like, again, I am a dancer first, right? A fan, and then a performer slash organizer. So I remember that I think I lost Diamond. Um, but I remember that bringing anytime I do bring guests over, like I want to make them feel welcome because I know I've been okay. I think we lost Diamond for a minute, but I'll keep talking. I'm the new host of the show. Hey, welcome to live discussions with Mikey G. Hey, um, so yeah, for anybody who has performed for me, thank you so much. A lot of love. LFX, Mike, Mike and Megan, everybody who has been around. I don't know where Diamond went, but I'm taking a hold of this right now. Um, Ask me any questions. Go for it. I think we're moving away from Diamond's question. Anyway, going back. Where was I? The Mikey G Show. Yes. Welcome everybody to the Mikey G Show. This is where we're gonna discuss
Gotcha.
secret
Are we good?
knowledge. Oh man, you're back on. Oh,
Yes.
hey, yo.
It is all good. Things happen.
I
I'm
was about
glad.
to
Yeah.
hijack this show. Like,
It's all, yo. Kim says we don't need Diamond for like cheese, man. Okay. I love it, man. Again, thank you. Some technical difficulties happen, but kind of harping, of course, back to what you were saying, realizing just the people you brought on, like Kim, opportunities you've given to different dancers over the years, whether they're salsa dancers or whether they're people like LFX, with Allah saying Mikey has been the best when it came to giving LFX an opportunity to
yeah,
perform.
it goes to like I think before you cut off, I was saying that on my end, I am a dancer, a fan first,
Yeah.
then a performer, teacher, then organizer, right? And as an organizer, I understand the amount of work that it takes for these performers to go out, rehearse, week after week to eventually put a show together, and I admire that, because again, I've gone through that. I've done that. So I am a fan of that, and so when people do come, when I do invite people to come perform, I try to be attentive to them. I try to take care of them. I try to make sure that they feel comfortable and that
Yeah.
they've had a good time, because again, as a performer, I've been to places where, hey, hi, thank you for coming. You're going to perform at 12:15, bam, and that's it. You perform, you're
Yes.
done. Thank you so much. That's it. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and that's on a good day, on a good night, but so as an organizer, I do try to make sure that, okay, well, my performers are well taken care of, are having a good time,
Yeah.
did enjoy themselves. That there's been times where unfortunately people have gotten hurt. So like, okay, well, what can we do now? Like, need ice, you need, tell me what you need.
Yeah.
Because it's unfortunate, and hey, it's my event, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the least I
Because
can do.
I think too was I loved was that besides taking the role as just a performer, as a teacher, now as an organizer. I think that was just a step above too because you were organizing socials and anniversaries, and I would call them almost mini congresses in a sense at your events. But then you created or was a part of and really became that partner with the New Jersey Bachata Festival that I've been to many years ago. So I would love to kind of give us some information on how that really transpired and what was or what is really the vision for that event.
Actually, funny that you brought that up because it kind of clicked something on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, after hosting a couple of events, you eventually want to see, okay, what's next, what's bigger, I had already traveled to a couple of congresses. I'm like, oh my gosh, doing something like this would be amazing. But I can only imagine the amount of work it would take, the funds, all the work that goes behind it, right? I can't even begin to know where to start. So, funny enough, the the event that the Congress that we wanted to go to, that we had fundraised for, right? Eventually, we went to the Congress. I believe, if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong, it was the Atlanta Bachata Festival
Yeah,
which I
Atlanta
don't
salsa
think.
bachata. Yeah,
Yeah, I think, yeah, something like that. Which I'm not sure if they still have it. I mean, obviously, pre-COVID.
yeah.
Um, but from there, um, I remember the organizer of that sent me to was a good friend of Jorge Elizondo,
Yes.
and so he put me on, and then he like he put me in touch with him, and we ended up performing at his event
Hmm.
in the Dallas Bachata. And then later on, I got a random call from this guy in Spain, right?
Pablo.
Well, yeah, I was gonna get to
Oh, sorry.
that. So yeah, he's like, "Hey, I saw your performance in Dallas, and I want to invite you and your team to come perform at a new festival that I have, New Jersey Metal Festival." I'm like, "Oh, I never heard of it." He's like, "Yeah, it's new. That's why." He's like, "All right, done. Let's go. It's right there. It's Jersey." Done. And he had a really nice lineup. He was one of the first people to bring in Daniel and Desiree, Gorky and
Hmm.
Judith. However, because he was based out of Spain, it was harder for him to promote to the American scene, right? The
Gotcha.
US scene. Um, Small event. We had a blast as a team. Eventually, we start going the next year, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I can sell tickets for you. Let me sell tickets for you in New York. I'll keep a little bit of profit. We'll make this work. Businessman here.
Yeah.
And eventually, I was bringing him over 100 people from New York.
Yeah.
Because again, I had my socials, I had my events here. So on the promoting side, it was easy to tell other people, hey, you like this, you're gonna have a blast at Jersey. 10 times way cooler for it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of years, Pablo was like, you know what? You always bring a good amount of people, and you love this. Let's partner up. He wanted to have somebody who was more local
Hmm.
and assist with the event. And for me, it was like, absolutely. I've always wanted to be a part of a Congress. I've always envisioned this, and something that's already kind of going and has some kind of foundation there would be a perfect way for me to start. And so that's how I basically partnered into the event. Became a partner for the New Jersey Bachata Festival. After a couple of years, though, Pablo himself realized, okay, it's a little bit harder for me to come into the States, and he recognized that maybe it was time for him to move on to other projects in Europe, and that's when he sold his part to Vladi, and now me and Vladi are partners on that event, and it's been smooth sailing since.
That's awesome. I mean, especially big shout outs to Vladi with Viva la Bachata and what they've been doing in DC. I think also for me, what I notice as well is throughout the years, then when you're working with New Jersey and now you and Vladi are teamed up and you guys are really good friends, the how should I say, the kind of grassroots approach over the years of having Pura Vida socials, being involved in socials throughout the tri-state with bringing more awareness to bachata, and then now having and being a part of the New Jersey event now, which is basically a congress, a festival as they call it. I think of through that word of mouth approach throughout the years of people going to your events and seeing how much fun they just have at stepping out studios or whatever studio you rent out. Now you have a hotel, 3 nights, partying, whether it's different rooms. You have some of the most amazing and worldwide performers teaching, performing, interacting with the people. I think the ambiance was definitely something needed because, of course, we've been to congresses it's kind of a similar structure. The structure is really similar, but what separates things is the atmosphere. I think the people that came or come to your events, they just have an aura about them. It's just like it's a different feeling when people talk about going to the New Jersey Bachata Festival. It's something people look forward to every year. Like you said, it's really close by for many people. And what Pablo did, of course, in the beginning was great, but he understood there was only so much he could do from where he was. So having that opportunity to have Vladi and now you guys bringing both of your visions together and really giving back to the community, the success just speaks for itself. And also, big shout out to what you've been able to do as well for the videographers, including myself, including Dennis, including people you've involved, like Davin Wilson when he's come, as well as Sean Batista, and the work that you guys have been able to do. Because also with videography, it really comes into effect that that's what helps broadcast and promote your events to outside sources. People who are not able to come are now being able to see this event and saying, oh, I need to be there next year. And also someone, and again, I give a shout out to Dennis specifically because he also is very yeah, he's also very modest in my opinion. He doesn't talk a lot. He kind of wants to just lead by example. And for me, I'm a very, open person. I'm very talkative. I'm very just sociable. And I think we're all sociable in our own ways. And seeing how you've been able to really incorporate and involve the people you know into your business and it works smoothly, that's the game changer. Because they always say don't mix business with your friendships, but you do it so well because you have a structure. You know what you want, you know what you expect out of us, and we appreciate that, but you also appreciate our value because at the end of the day, it works hand in hand. And, for me, seeing over the years what you've been able to do from the events you've created to the performances you've done to the routines you've done, what have really been the lifelong lessons, or have you kind of had lessons that you've learned throughout your years in the bachata scene?
I mean, the biggest one would be the more there's always there's there's always a piece of the pie for everyone. Like the bigger the pie is, the more everyone can eat.
Yeah.
And so as an individual, it's where like it's in my best interest to want to work with everybody to create a bigger pie. Right. And I think it goes back to what I was saying before that sometimes when a dancer or promoter is solely focused on one thing, on which is the New York scene, you tend to forget that the scene is much greater than you are, and I always advocate for working together, working, collabing, not just on routines or in hosting events, but overall, again, the bigger we can make the scene, the bigger there is for everybody, the more there is for everybody to be able to eat from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree because I would say from being a Salcedo and you guys actually being the first company I trained with in bachata, and also giving a big shout out to Coronel. He was my first teacher. From being a person that we were Salcedos together in the dancing, just dancing, him now being my teacher and me saying, taking understanding, I'm no longer in salsa scene. I now have to kind of start all the way over if I want to progress. And I really thanked you guys. And I always wanted to just get so much advice from you guys, from the practices we went through. Because for me, it was just about starting over. For me, I appreciated what the bachata scene has been able to offer over the years, from the events you've been able to throw, from the many performances and just networking you've been able to do. I've always admired it because you always had an approach that, hey, it's on to the next. We're moving. We're on to the next project. And for me, seeing that you just had kind of a stoic, very, like you said, modest approach to things, and you never got too high, you never got too low. That was something I appreciated because I knew promoters and organizers that really could turn you away from this type of life. that could just make you not want to be involved as much. So for me, I've always wanted to tell you that I appreciated you because besides you guys, you and Stephen being my teachers and helping me along the way, when I got into performing, when I got into then videography, you specifically, besides Mr. Brandon Contreras, you guys gave me my first opportunities. You guys believed in me more than I believed in myself because we understand in New York is kind of who you know. And I remember you just telling me, hey, you want to film? Do it. And it helped me train. And actually 3, 4 years later, being able now to travel to different cities because of the work I've been able to do with you guys. For you especially, I give a lot of my experience and a lot of my success to you. Because hey man, like if it wasn't for you and other people that didn't give me a chance, my visions wouldn't have been put out there as quickly. So again, for me, the success of my company, Diamond Rivera Films, and things I've been able to do along the way with film, a lot of it is due to you believing in me. So I truly thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I think that I can definitely relate a lot to that because a lot of times all you really need is that one opportunity, man, not just to be able to, I guess, prove yourself, but for you to be able to tell yourself that you can do it, and I think this goes for anybody. Um, again, like thinking back to my beginnings, it was I believe Alejandro who first gave me that opportunity, reached out to me to perform as them, right? So again, that trickled down into more opportunities, et cetera, and everything
Mm.
snowballed from there. And a lot of times it's really just giving somebody that one chance. Um, and if everybody can pay that forward, I think that we would be in a much better place. We can be in a much
Absolutely.
better place.
Absolutely. I think I would hope when things are much safer, and people feel really, I mean, overall feel more comfortable going back to the dance scene as a whole and doing congresses, festivals, and events. I really hope that people take your approach to promoting and networking to heart and kind of be influenced by that. Because to see from 2012 to kind of pre COVID times, seeing your influence and seeing your contributions wherever they are, just shows that how hard you work, how hard how hard you've tried to promote bachata, especially in New York and the tri-state area, but specifically New York. And seeing honestly, I'm gonna say, in my honest opinion, you you and of course people like Alejandro from Las Chicas Locas and Club Cache and other places, you guys have been the most influential people to the growth of the bachata community. And that's from me watching you guys because understanding when salsa was king, people didn't think about bachata. When bachata was just in a small room, that people just, it was almost an afterthought for some people. And realizing how much bachata now, you have more bachata socials, or you had more bachata socials than salsa socials now. And people, you saw those same dancers that were salsa dancers, now they're bachata dancers. And that right there shows growth in the progression. Big shout out to Matthew Rivera, giving a big shout out, saying that shirt is fire. And at least my last question, really, before we get into the segment that I have called the randoms, is, with COVID and kind of, I wouldn't even say post pandemic right now because we're still in it. Um, what do you really see kind of down the road, or when things get back to a normalcy and people feel comfortable coming back into events? What do you see as the outlook for our community going forward?
Our community as in the bachata community or specifically the New York scene?
I would say the New York scene as a whole, because I would say this, even with the bachata community, people from the dance scene, as a salsa dancer, as zouk dancers, they all somehow have come to bachata events. What do you see really is the future for our dance community?
I mean, I think right now it's really hard to gauge.
Hmm.
A lot of it obviously depends on restrictions, laws, vaccinations. But assuming that, let's say I'll take it 2 years from now,
Yeah.
hopefully we are in a much better place, and hopefully we are in a place where people feel comfortable going again and congregating in a dance social, um, which I felt that helped to really bring people together. Like it's funny because like a lot of I don't feel like a lot of organizers get the are understood in the
Hmm.
amount of pressure and the amount of work that it takes to put a lot of events together, right? And so putting these events together, it can be a lot of work, but at the end of the day, what makes it really worthwhile is seeing people come together, seeing people have a
Yeah.
good time, seeing people like get away from their 9 to 5, from the stressful lives, from other worries, and just being able to decompress and have a good time. For me, that's worth it at the end,
Mm.
you know. And hopefully, I'm hopeful that we can get back into that, into that state of mind and into that just state of being free, and hopefully with time.
Absolutely. And of course, Kim has to be the sense of levity here. Of course, she says no sensual bachata. I didn't say it. She said it. I appreciate all styles, but I'm gonna say the modern, traditional and modern are really my fortes. Something I appreciate, especially. I can't lie. Training with you guys for the time that I was with you guys, I learned so much in that time frame. And then going to socials, and I'm like, man, I wish more people took classes from Mikey. It's just the simplicity of things. I mean, I'll say this. I'm hoping in the future, less dips. How about that? Less dips, better connection, more respect, closeness. So it's okay to be a little bit further apart. Give some room for people to just be free, like you said. And again, I definitely feel for me in the future, whether it's 2 years from now or maybe even longer, when we do have a sense of normalcy, I'm hoping that people like yourself will still be here, still working, still creating magic, and I would love to be a part of that for the future because, again, you and people like Alejandro and so many others that have been a part of this, um, you guys have been the lifeline for our community. So, for me, I definitely got to give a big shout out to you guys. And of course, Dennis says more basics as well. And Kim says, cancel me. Don't worry, we won't be canceling you. It's a crazy world. But now it brings me to my segment at the end called the randoms, which is about 10 questions, maybe more, maybe less, that we have here that give us an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. But before we get to that as well, we got my man Joey Corsica saying less crazy dips, less violent hair whips, and save the videographer. We know what that feels like. Getting when girls are whipping and then they just hit our camera and don't understand the thousands of dollars that go into it. And Kim, hey, it's not that I'm being nice. I'm just, being honest and wording my things correctly. I don't want people to get through. And of course, Allah says, save our backs and shoulders. Yes, leads,
Absolutely.
please. You need to know how to hold your follow. Please understand this. And I would say, if you can in the future, take privates with Mikey if he is giving them out. So, yes, absolutely. Shameless plug. I'd said it. And now it brings us to the random. So, all I need
Randoms.
to know, Mikey, is when you are ready. Uh oh.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
All right. Number one, give us a moment. Ooh, what was your worst follow experience? And you know what I mean? You're at a
Follow
social and
experience.
you're dancing with someone and you expected, man, I'm about to go into this. We're gonna have an amazing dance, and everything just went to shit.
All right, so which one, right? Um, I think from what I can recollect, what I can recall, if I go back to like when I was first starting dancing, right?
Mhm.
And I think Ala mentioned this, in terms of backbreaking. So I remember dancing with a girl who pretty much just threw herself as a dip, and it was during the time that I guess because I'm still learning too, I didn't really know
Oh,
how to like prevent myself,
yeah.
from like how to save myself, and I I ended up hurting my back, but
Ooh.
we did almost fall at one point, and it was to the point that I was like, all right, I'm not gonna fall with you, girl. It's like, yo, you do this again, I'm gonna let you go, yo, like,
Yeah.
because my back's already hurting, and then I think we ended up stopping the dance as a whole,
Mhm.
but I'm sure I'm not the only person that's happened to, you know.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, and like you said, I think that follow went into it themselves, and was it you weren't probably preparing for that. They probably
Right,
just
she was like back leading into dips. I don't know. It was at a congress, I think.
oh
I think it might have been LA. I'm
oh
sorry,
man.
LA dancers.
I think that
Uh,
person knows who they are.
I don't even know who they are, but they just, yeah.
Yeah, I got you. All right. Next question here. Who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Of all time.
All time.
I don't know. I'm a big Eddie Guerrero fan.
Okay.
I'm a big Shawn Michaels fan.
Oh yeah.
Um, big Triple H fan. Actually, right now I'm actually digging Adam Cole.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I wouldn't say I have one person, but all of the above fall into it.
Okay. Well, even going into that, I'm gonna ask you this. What era of wrestling is
Attitude
your favorite?
Era.
Ah, I like that.
Attitude Era. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Even Dennis here is like no pressure. No pressure here. Just know whatever you say will be used against you. And Dennis is court of law here. And even kind of harping back to the last question we had, uh Coronel says dancing with any European competitive dancer. Most of the followers are amazing performers but can't follow in socials. A total bummer. Coronel, that is on you. I thankfully haven't had that unfortunate experience yet, but I'm hopefully in the future we will not, because again, there's a difference between performing and social dancing. So I think people should
Absolutely.
definitely take heed to that. So the next question is, what is a huge don't for Mikey when you are dancing with someone? You probably have harped on it from the first question, but kind of give the kind of bullet points on what not to do when they're dancing with you.
And this would apply for both lead and follow.
Lead and follow.
All right. I think we'll start off with a huge yes that you should do
Mhm.
is take care of hygiene, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so that's a first yes. And then I think from there it goes into as a lead trying to assess your partner's level in dancing, with your partner as opposed to like trying to show off or trying to, I don't know, impress her.
Hmm.
There's a lot of times where I see leads trying to do a lot more than what the follow can actually follow.
Hmm.
Um, take it down. I think less is more when it comes to dancing. Appreciating connection, appreciating musicality, appreciating, again, going back to the simple basics of dancing with
Yeah.
each other as opposed to trying to show off what you can do.
Okay. I love it.
I mean, I'm okay with dibs if they call for it, if they're light, if they're not hurting each other, if you're using them, I don't know, at the end of the song. not
Mm-hmm.
after every other measure,
Oh
when just for the
my
fun of it.
God.
Um, Again, I'm okay with a lot of moves that I see nowadays being used in Central Bachata. Most moves.
Mm,
Some moves I'm like, that's not even a move itself. That's like
yeah,
some
you
Dragon Ball
created
Z
that.
shit, Yeah, like not even wrestlers would do that. Like, come on. Just yeah, dance. Just dance. Enjoy the dance.
Mm, I definitely like how you put that. All right, next question is, what did Mikey want to be at 10 years old?
10. 10. I don't remember what I ate, but I think a baseball player. I've always been
Okay.
a Yankee fan. I actually grew up in the Bronx, like 2 blocks away from Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
And so going home, I would always pass by the stadium and, going on the 4 train. And I didn't really understand the game as much, but I knew, hey, I would love to do that.
Okay. Wow. I didn't even know you had an interest in baseball. This is definitely something I'm finding out. I like that. All right. Next question would be, if you could close your eyes and open them right now, what event would you be at? And you can only be at one event.
Close my eyes and open them. Assuming it's going on right now at regular capacity, like back in the
Yeah,
day.
like this is COVID's not around or we're back to a sense of normalcy if you could be at one event. But I have to give you a disclaimer. It cannot be one of your own.
Uh, so I've never been to this event. I've always wanted to go, and if I could be there right now, it'd be amazing. It'd be the Croatia event. The
Okay.
one in Croatia. They have the salsa and bachata
Yes.
portion, and
That's oh my
I
I
don't care
heard
which
about that.
portion. I would love to be there, though. Bam.
I know it's like on 7 different areas. Like I think it's like 2 weeks or something like that. It's like a whole big thing. I definitely have that. And at least before we go on to the next question here, we have Coronel saying, "Tell Diamond about the reggaeton music video. What is that about?"
I don't know what he's talking about, but so when I was
And
in high
well,
school,
Dennis says he has the video. So I mean, I don't
what videos?
know.
So so when I was in high school,
Mhm.
reggaeton was like
Oh yeah,
on the rise, and
Daddy
Daddy Yankee,
Yankee, we
Wisin
seen
and
the
Yandel.
young
I'm
dead.
a, I'm a, I'm a huge reggaeton fan. Reggaeton before bachata for me. Um, but at some point, I was like, yeah, I wanna dive into reggaeton. Maybe I can do this, right? So then I I randomly got some beats. I downloaded my virtual DJ. I bought a microphone and I started trying to do reggaeton to the point where I think I did like maybe 3 or 4 tracks, recorded it on an actual CD, like back in the days,
Yeah. Oh
had
yeah.
the CDs, and I made myself a CD cover, and that was the reggaeton segment of
Oh,
my life.
wow. I mean,
Eventually, however, I had it all stored in like a very old laptop, and the laptop got stolen. So all that information is non-existent.
I, I'm assuming, hopefully Dennis, he's right because it looks like you might be onto something here
Which,
as
to be honest,
well.
I kind of miss it. I kind of hope it was still there. Yeah, I had that
Okay.
perreo intenso. Yeah.
I see. I see. What's his name? Luigi saying from we're talking about wrestling. We know about this. Mikey is kayfabing right now. I don't know. I don't know. Might be putting up a little front there. We'll see. As well, Dennis says the car rides. Definitely, I know those are probably intense there. Those are perreo moments. So, you know. All right. Next question. What would you consider your spirit animal to be?
Ooh, an eagle.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you can see this, but I just got an eagle tattoo.
What?
Right.
Okay.
So an eagle,
Fire.
because I feel like eagle likes to fly solo, will do whatever it wants. Just
Yeah.
it's I don't know. has no worries, I guess. It travels wherever it wants. It's strong by itself. So I would love
Okay.
to keep traveling. Yeah.
All right. I like that. I like that answer. All right. Next question. What would be your superpower?
My superpower. Um, I think it's the teleportation.
Oh, okay. I mean, you can get to where you got to get
Teleport.
to when you need to get to it.
Exactly. You know how much time I'd save on sleeping and being to work on time?
Oh, man. I wish we all had that option, honestly. All right. Next question. And we're going to go back to a little bit of wrestling. If you, Coronel, and Dennis had a wrestling group, what would your name be?
Latino heat.
No, you can't use Latino Heat. That's already taken. We got a brand new name.
Oh, damn. Uh-huh. The Bachateros Club.
Okay. All right. Hopefully they agree as well on these comments. I want to see what they say after. But
Yes. For those wrestling fans, be after the Bullet Club.
okay. Oh my God. What's Kim says, Mikey, you told me you wanted to be like Wanda.
Like WandaVision?
I I guess Dennis here says the undisputed era, maybe as well. But Coronel here saying the Bachata Club. I know,
Okay.
given that wolf pack right there, I'm feeling it. And I see Dennis agrees. So if we have you guys, whether you're in the WWE, AEW, whatever of a company as well, the Bachatero Club, I hope we can see you guys there because we're having rappers, even Bow Wow, trying to get into wrestling. So I think if he's
Facts. It's
getting
got
into it,
Bad
yeah.
Bunny there now.
Oh, Bad Bunny was just on there. He did
Uh,
his thing. I can't lie. He definitely did his thing. And Luigi says instead of saying too sweet, they'll be saying too sensual. Man. Oh, man. Gotta love Luigi. All right. Next question would be, can you name three people that have been most influential to you at this point in your life?
Damn,
And
just
it could be
three.
dance related or life in general. And you can also, if you like, bunch people together.
Ah, bunch people. We're gonna
Yeah.
have to bunch people because there's a lot of people.
Yeah, I know.
One would definitely have to start with my parents. Like um, I feel like they've given up and gone through so much to be able to put me and my sisters, um, set us up for successful careers and be where we are today. Um, a lot of which they couldn't have for themselves. So I definitely see them and then really am highly thankful for everything they've done for all of us. You know, um, I'd have to put a lot of my close friends as second. Like it's too many people to name. I mean, some of which are common things here, but I think that a lot of people that have come into my life have definitely left a positive view on things and have led me in a good direction. And there's a reason why a lot of these people I'm still close with and I still have very strong friendships with. Um, and I think lastly, I'm gonna have to put um, this woman by the name of Lily Valbuena, who I don't know if she'll be listening to this, but she's played a very important role in my life in terms of getting me to where I am today, getting me where
Hmm.
I am now, um, and even taking me out of some dark places that I've been. So I'm very thankful for for her and everybody else that who have played an important vital role in my life.
Absolutely. I mean, I asked that question because it shows that sense of humility, that sense of human side of people, because we realize throughout all of our success, throughout all of our travels and our journey, there are people that we remember that have influenced us in one way or another. So definitely big shout out to everybody that you've included. And now it brings us to the last question here. And we call this here the island question. And it goes like this. But I will also give you a disclaimer. You are on an island, whatever island you choose. But the disclaimer is you have no Wi Fi. I need you to give me three things that you would have to have with you on that island.
Three things on an island. All right. I need like a lot of music. Like,
Okay.
I need like music, like a boombox or something with like unlimited power, so I can just listen to stuff. Like
Solar panel.
yeah. So I can have like Bad Bunny and J Balvin. Like a lot of that, like
Yeah.
yeah. And then I'm gonna be jamming to that now because I'm gonna be jamming to that. I'm gonna get thirsty, so I'm gonna need like an unlimited supply of Coronas. Like
Oh,
we need
okay.
Coronas in our life. I can grow the limes. I'll grow them.
He's like, I
But
can grow those limes.
I need Coronas, and then so I got music. I got my Coronas. I'll make a hammock. I'm already in paradise.
So no food. You ain't got nothing. You don't know what you about to eat. You about to just live
I,
off of Coronas.
I mean, I'm sure I could find my like. I'll
Okay.
grow stuff.
Okay.
I'll maybe some kind of what? Nah, I need more entertainment.
I think Kim
Yeah.
says you can listen to her podcast. That's what. That's the music you need. That's the.
That yeah. So some kind of survival skills, survival weapons or something.
Okay.
In case a bear comes at me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely love those answers. And again, Mikey, thank you so much for doing this segment. I definitely feel like I learned a lot more about you, whether it's you love eagles, which would be your spirit animal, whether it's having the Bachatero Club as your wrestling names, and so much more. And now it kind of brings us to the conclusion of our talk tonight. And honestly, even through everything, even with the technical difficulties at one point, for me, I'm thankful and honored to have you here because, like I've told you earlier, how much you've meant to me in my film career and dance career. With you and Pura Vida, the company at one point that I was a part of, with you influencing me with film and giving me opportunities, I'm glad that I could have you here tonight so people can understand how much of an amazing human being you are, how much you give back to people so much because you want to see people succeed. Because, like you said, it's better to work with everybody because, better to have that pot filled and have everybody enjoy it because that's what's ultimately going to have everyone succeeding. With everyone succeeding and benefiting, it only helps things grow more positively. And I would definitely say for me, being able to just kind of hear your story, get a glimpse of your life before, during this dancing, and kind of post and understanding where your headspace is at. I appreciate it. Everything you've been able to talk to, even with our question segment at the end, having some levity, having some laughs as well. And honestly, I thank you. And I also thank everyone that's really given their feedback, commented, and support what you do, what you've been able to do over the years. Because, like you said, as an organizer, it's not easy. People have to understand just because you have an event and you can see these people here, it's so much that goes involved. I've even just at times, if I'm working with you with filming, just look back and observe you and see what you're doing because I understand it takes a lot to run an event, but it takes a lot to run a successful event. And that's something I believe you've been able to do over the last few years. And again, I want to thank you for coming on, but at least before we do go, I would love to know if you had any last few words for myself and the audience and any contact info or maybe how people may be able to reach you and understand maybe any future projects that you have coming up.
Yeah. All right. So reach me on Instagram at MikeG_. baby. Or go to my website at www.mikeygbachata.com. Hey.
Okay.
Um, and more than anything, I want to be able to thank not just you for having me here, but whoever else, whoever listened on this segment, whoever chimed in, and everybody that has helped me along the way in being where I am now. Like again, all of those successful events that we had, I didn't do alone. You know, all those times we went out to perform, all the congresses we attended to, I didn't teach alone. I didn't
Mm.
perform alone. I always had a strong group of people, of friends, of dancers that had my back, and a huge big thank you to all of you guys. Like I sometimes I sit back and reflect on it, and I feel like I haven't been able to thank them enough.
Hmm.
But they everybody has played a big role who who Mikey is today. And for that I'm ever so thankful for them.
Absolutely, man. And like you said before, you being kind of an introvert, maybe being shy and quiet, I was so thankful that we could have this because I wanted people to see the person that's influenced me and so many others and seeing how much of a great human being you are. And like I tell every one of my guests, I feel like this is a part one to hopefully more parts that we can have because I'd love to have you on in the future with other guests, including maybe Vladi and other artists throughout the scene to kind of discuss
See,
Congress. Yeah, to discuss Congress life, helping people especially understand Congresses like the New Jersey Bachata Festival of what they can see happening in store for the future, but also learn things that have gone on before and during those events when they've happened. Because I think too we should be able to celebrate some really successful events that our community has had over the last few years. But again, Mikey, I thank you. I thank the audience so much for tuning in and seeing how much of a great person you are, Mikey. Again, I hope you're staying safe. Well, definitely, I can't wait until the next interview. So, again, everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Live Discussions with Diamond podcast. I'm Diamond, and we just had Mikey G here. And again, everyone, check him out on Instagram as well as MikeyGBachata.com. And any other info, I'll definitely post as well. So, everyone, definitely please have a wonderful night and stay safe.
see ya.